Clerk, did you get anyone that said they'll be running late today?
No, I didn't.
Okay. All right, for the sake of time, we're going to get started. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another meeting of the Inkster City Council orientation session. Today is Monday, December the 6th, 2021, and the time is now 6:02 p.m. This is our orientation session. It gives council a chance to ask any questions that they may have regarding any agenda items, any items that you may want to amend or to remove, or to, of course, get any more detail from the administration before we go into the general session at 7 p.m. So hearing that, jump right off into it. As it relates to any questions as it relates to the second reading for the Cherry Hill Development Ordinance. After the second reading, it will go into, of course, it's under new business or council action.
So, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Councilman Shaw.
Just for sake of discussion now, what would happen if I'm looking at my papers here? What would happen if this does not pass? What would occur?
All right, Harry's on the line. Harry.
Yeah, hi. Hello, Mayor. Basically, this is a package deal, and the developer has told us that he needs both the changes to the senior center, and this one has to do with the family center, putting the pilot in the family center. And the two of them are joined together and provide the mechanism for them to get their special financing that allow them to make major upgrades to both facilities, both the senior center and the family center. The financing is arranged due to the fact that it has a pilot in place and that it's tax exempt. So that's what would happen. It's been told to me that we need both of these to make that done. Mayor, I just do want to say I did talk to Mark CPL, the attorney that I've been working with for Cherry Hill on this for the Lark development, and he has had a full day, but he is available. If you need me to text him, I can reach out to him right now and try to get him on the line to answer some of these questions if you want.
Yeah, I would think, Harry, that he definitely should be on the line at least.
Okay, let me give me just a second and let me reach out to him.
Yeah,
Thanks.
at least if we don't get him now, we can answer, get those questions asked in general session.
Yeah, just let me step away for a second and take care of that.
Mm-hmm. Councilman Shaw, does that satisfy your question for now?
He didn't really answer it, but I just want to know, what will happen. I know that he was saying that they won't be able to get the financing that they need to move the project forward as of doing reconstruction and what have you.
Yeah.
But does that mean that if it doesn't pass, does that mean it is just flat out done? It's going to be vacant or what? That's what I was looking.
Yeah, and I think to get the developer on the line to answer those questions, I think is pertinent.
Mayor, this is Harry again, and I just contacted Mr. CPL. He is trying to get, he's going to log in here, so I would ask the clerk to look out for Mark CPL and let him in and let him and unmute him so he can talk to us.
Good. All right, then. So yeah, we'll definitely get that question satisfied. We're moving this process along.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome, sir. And just to add to that, I mean, looking at the numbers is definitely a win-win for not only the organization and the residents there. That looks like Lark coming in now.
Yeah, right. He's in as a Lark group. So if you let him in there.
Let's get him unmuted. All right.
Hello?
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Hey, good evening. I'm good. How is everybody? Sorry for joining late.
No problem. Question was posed by one of our council members that if for whatever reason this action doesn't pass tonight through the council, what happens to the project?
Well, we submitted this project to MISTA. We're working diligently towards the closing for a HUD insured loan process. And right now, we've always been presenting this as a package deal. In other words, we have a senior project for 150 units and we have a family project for 36 units. And it's always been the presentation from day one, both to MISTA and to the for the bonds that we need that would finance this. We were looking at it as 186 units. So while it would appear, there are two separate parcels, two separate properties, two separate tax strategies that we've been presenting, we have been viewing it from a feasibility perspective as 186 units. If the pilot on the family project did not pass, I can guarantee that the 36 units, the family project would not have any rehab. It would not. It can barely. It would absolutely not get a rehab. We would try to maintain the 150 unit rehab at senior, but I can't even say with confidence that we could do that. We're trying to rehabilitate 186 low income residential homes in the city of Inkster and create this significant investment of really what is private equity going into the projects that's paired with a HUD insured loan for long-term preservation of affordable housing at both sites. That's always been our approach, and that's what we really hope to accomplish with the.
All right. Councilman Shaw, does that satisfy your question?
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much tapped into a little bit of it. I just wanted to, just in a session, what would be the effect of, the project, and I think he made mention about, they wouldn't be able to rehab none of the project. They would try, I guess he would seek other funding.
We would lose out. We would immediately lose out without question. We would immediately lose out on the ability to rehabilitate the family townhomes. There's no question about that. The open question would be, how can we absorb it all and have to adjust? Obviously, there would be delays because this would require us to, we're so far down the line with the HUD insured loan process, we would have to try to find a way forward on the senior project. Wouldn't be able, we would not be committing to do either project.
Okay. Yeah, because I was just trying to see how, if anything, does this mean more to the city if it far as but I understand. I mean, not trying to negotiate it, but just to see how how much more the city would be able to benefit from the project. But that's all I have, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I guess, but to to your comment, I think that if this doesn't pass, then it'll pretty much stay in the condition that it's in currently. And then
That's
as we look at the additional tax revenue on the senior towers coming directly from the state of Michigan, we wouldn't receive that. It'll just stay in the condition that it's in now as it relates to the pilot.
But from that pilot, we still get the taxes. It just won't be able to be updated. The property, I mean, the units won't be able to be updated.
Well, no, you wouldn't get the full value of the taxes. Currently, we're in a pilot on the senior center.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Mayor, this is Harry, if you don't mind me jumping in. There's currently a pilot on the senior center, and which reduces the taxes that the city gets. This has been always presented to us as a package, Mayor and Council, and with doing both of these together, even though it's putting a pilot and reducing the amount of money coming from the family center, in total, the city would realize an increase of approximately $90,000 per year to the general fund by putting these two together. So there'll be an increase to the general fund if both of these things pass, plus an upgrade and rehab to 187 units that are currently occupied by residents of the city that will be available. These are long-term loans, and as long as that loan is in place for at least 30 years, this is guaranteed to be an affordable housing option, both the senior and the family center. So I wanted to just remind council of that. That's where we're going with this thing. That's what has been presented out here.
But and also, Harry, to be able to realize that 90,000, it has to be what's the occupancy percentage?
Yeah, the occupancy percentage right now across, I think the average across both the family and senior project is about 94%. And historically, it's always been that way. And we only hope to improve upon that with the improvements that we're making to the projects. I mean, we're talking about $45,000 a unit on average is the investment in 186 units. With this strategy, it would be more attractive, more desirable. We already have a wait list, and often it's just a matter of getting the units turned, meaning getting them in rent-ready shape. It's really the delay over time. You have move-ins and move-outs, and during those move-outs, there's obvious need to get the units in rent-ready condition. Which generally has resulted in about a 94% occupancy rate across both projects.
Yeah, because that leads me to my next question was, how was the waiting list, or was there any waiting list?
Yes, we have a wait list. I can provide. I don't know exactly off the top of my head what it is. I don't think it's so extensive, like to say, oh, there's 100 folks on the waiting list. I think it's closer to maybe like 10, 15 on the wait list, but I can get that.
Just real quickly. Now, how does a person go about trying to get onto that waiting list? What do they need to do?
Do the pilot.
Please, I mean, we welcome. Come to our, we send out flyers, we do advertising, we're trying to promote occupancy. So anyone that comes to the office at 29477 Cherry Hill Road, which is the ground floor of the senior building, that would like to be added to, has an interest in eligibility to be on the wait for either project. Eligibility meaning the 62 years and older requirement at the senior project, or disabled is a basic eligibility requirement. And then we have the income level requirements. Folks must be below a certain threshold income level. In this case, there's a percentage that is going to be at 60% of the area median income, and there's going to be a percentage that's at 40% of the area median income.
Okay, so they just
but meeting those basic requirements, Absolutely.
Okay, so they just come to the office there.
Absolutely.
Okay. all
Or
right.
I can connect them with our property manager, via email or whatever is convenient. But we obviously want to add to that wait list and welcome any.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Yep.
All right, anyone else have any questions from the LARC group as it relates to Cherry Hill pilot proposal? All right, hearing none, moving right along to item B. We will have a presentation from Plan Moran and Mr. Green, our treasurer, as it relates to our budget amendments and talking about the audit course and our financial forecast. But if there's any questions right now, we can jump into those, or we can wait until after the presentation. All right, item C. Any questions as it relates to item C? Item D. Any questions on item D? Any questions on item E? Any questions on item F?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yes, I do have a question on item E. Now, is this, in the packet, it showed that it was a buildable lot. I want to say, is that certain there?
And I know
Is
that
that
this is one of the older ones that we had in the catch-up that we're just getting onto the agenda. So item E, where are you looking at and what page? And Tracy is on the line to talk to.
Yeah, I'm trying to go through these papers real quick, because I know I seen the picture of it, and it seemed like it had a house on it from the picture. I don't know if that's the actual spot there.
1 second, then also I believe our realtor is on the line as well.
I know it said 3337 Isabel, and it says building, so on the photo. So I don't know if that's the actual lot, or is it a house on there, or. And I know in the write-up it says that it was a residential lot, I think. Yeah, I think it was RB1 residential. So is that considered just a vacant parcel, or is it a vacant buildable lot?
And I saw Stephanie come on and I saw that she was unmuted, but go ahead, Tracy, you want to speak to that?
Just a moment, I'm trying to pull up my records and my internet is slow loading.
See that Stephanie was just on there, last number 8526.
I'm sorry, we don't have the page numbers on here. So
And I won't bring it to.
Can you give me the letter on that one? It's under new business, correct?
Stephanie, can you?
Yes.
You're unmuted. Can you speak to that?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, hi, good evening, Mayor, Council, and the community. Okay, that particular one is really old. The owner of that house, it's his driveway, and his garage is now on it, but he has, it was all together as one parcel, but then realized that his lot was on a different parcel. So that was put in a long time ago, and that's his driveway. That's connected. You know how sometimes when you purchase a home and the garage is supposed to be with the house, and so that's what's happening. That's one of the old ones we discovered, that his garage was separated. So we making sure families get their entire parcel put back together. But that was real old.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Right?
Point of clarification, that's item E, right?
That is item E. We were
Okay,
saying
thank you.
item E. Yeah. He asked me to wait. He asked me to wait before we went there. Yeah. Any other questions on item E? Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item F. Any questions on item F?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Chisholm.
And with the excuse me, with the funding that would come in for this, because it is on the property that I know we've been questioning back and forth with the tax debt and things of that nature, would the funds be going to the general fund or would they be going to pay off the tax debt to the state of Michigan?
You say the taxes or the school debt?
I'm sorry, the school debt.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be a determination that, we would have to make. I don't know if, with the attorney on the line, if anything is made off of it, if we rent the space or lease the space, if we have to send it towards the school debt. But that's a question that I think we would have to put towards our attorney. Let's see here. Commissioner Jones is on the line. I know Harry's on the line. Harry, you're not in for Jones tonight, are you?
Excuse me. Which item we're talking about? Item.
Item F.
Item F.
Yes.
That's the one with the consumer energy for the temporary easement for the material.
Correct.
I'm not 100% up to date on that with those funds over there. With that, I don't think I've worked on that one, so I don't have the information. But I could try to find out real quick in between our sessions over here. Would you repeat the question again, Councilwoman? That you're concerned about where the money's going, right?
Yes, I was just curious to know if the monies that will be received for them renting or leasing the property would go into the general fund, or would it have to be applied directly to the state of Michigan to pay down the school debt?
Okay. This is just okay. Let me look at that. I'll try to get an answer if I can. But like I said, I'm unfamiliar with this transaction, so you kind of catch me. But maybe in between, I can find something out. All right.
All righty. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions, Councilman?
No, I'm all set. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I would like to make a statement to that fact. Okay, before we send any money to the state, our first priority is to upkeep that land over there. It's in our, we're going to need money to continue to upkeep it. So therefore, I would hope that would be our first priority. So we do anything with it, because it's going to have to be kept up over there. I got a couple of complaints now that I discussed with the DPS. So I was hoping the main thing is, it's got to be upkeep because it's our property. Okay, so we're going to have to upkeep it, use it for that purpose first.
Okay. Well, definitely, I think, this relates to both. I think both points are concise. We just need to make sure that we're talking to legal and making sure that the money's going to where it needs to go. But, of course, we're looking forward to go towards the general fund, of course. Like you said, Councilman, no matter what, we got to keep the land up regardless. All right, any other questions or comments as it relates to that?
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Wiley.
In reference to Councilman Chisholm's question, when David Jones first submitted this proposal to council, both of us responded, and that question was on there. How will the money be utilized? And we never got a response. And that's been like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. So, and we still don't have anything definitive on that, because otherwise the situation is fine, with the exception of knowing how the money will be utilized or where the money will actually go.
I totally agree. I didn't see that question. I don't know if I was on on that email or not, but at the same time, we will follow up with Mr. Jones. It's not like him not to be in the meeting right now, so.
No, he sent back something. It was, he didn't know. He wasn't sure. So I guess that's why Councilman Chisholm is posing that to administration at this time.
Okay, well, we're hearing it now, so we'll definitely follow up and figure out exactly what it is. All right. Did you have any other questions or comments, ma'am?
No.
All right, then moving right along. Any other questions or comments relating to item F? Okay, hearing none. Harry, again, I know that you're here on the matter of the pilot program. At the same time, you do represent our attorney's office. Do you know if it's any additional items for us this evening?
I'm not aware of any, Mr. Mayor.
All right, then. Well, let's find out where Jones is at. Let's find out what Jones is at. Again, like I said, I know it's not like him. He's typically on the line. So find out where he's at, and then we can go from there. All right,
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, City Clerk.
Mr. Jones did say that John Nader and Harry would be covering the meeting for him tonight.
Okay, I did see John Nader down there. He probably been trying to.
And there is closed session items.
All right. Let's see here. We can get Mr. Nader in.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I have an answer from about the question that Councilman Chisholm asked about the use of the funds on there. Mr. Nader, while I was talking, went and contacted Mr. Jones, and he responded back that there are no restrictions on the monies we're receiving for the use of the property, for the easement on the property. So I think that answers your question. So that means there's no restrictions. They can go to the general fund.
That's great news. All right, then. Mr. Nader.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir.
Oh, good. Thank you. I was having problems joining. Yes, I did speak with David Jones, and as Harry mentioned, there are no restrictions on the funds. I was prepared to answer any questions, although it doesn't sound like your council has any on item F. And then I'm prepared to talk about, when it comes up, the closed item sessions for the couple lawsuits that we want to talk about in closed session, George Clark versus Inkster and Kimberly Murray, Randa Davis et al. Versus Inkster. That's a class action. So whenever you're ready for those, let me know and I'll be glad to step in on those.
All right, then we have time now. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
Motion to go in closed session.
There's
So
support.
move.
All right, there's been motion and support to go into closed session on those two items that attorney just spoke on. Roll call, please, City Clerk.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember Washington,
Yes.
Councilmember Watley,
Yes.
Councilmember Chisholm,
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw.
Yes.
All right,
Okay,
motion,
there's a 6-0 vote.
all right, motion carries. We will be going into closed session for the general public, and we'll be coming back out hopefully by 7 p.m. to start with the general session. All right, Troy, take us in. And Mr. Nader as well, and Harry. evening, everyone, and welcome to another meeting of the Inkster City Council. Time is now 7 p.m. The date is December the 6th, 2021. We call this meeting to order. We will have prayer by Pastor Leon Crawford.
God bless. Can
There
you
you
hear
are,
me?
sir. Yeah, we can hear you
Can
now.
you hear me?
We can hear you now, sir. Thank you.
All right. God bless you, Mayor, and to the wonderful council in the beautiful city of Inkster. I bid you greetings. Pastor Leon Crawford, 351 Inkster Road. Yes, 351 Inkster Road at City Praise Gospel Cafe, where yours truly is the pastor. And so we thank God for this opportunity to pray over our city as well as this wonderful meeting as we bow our heads. Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus, we come to you and we thank you for another day. We thank you at the dawning of the end of the year that your grace and your mercy has found us in this place of blessings for our city, for our leaders, Lord. And today, God, as we look for clarity and vision, we ask that your blessings will be upon the hands of the leaders of our city. In the name of Jesus Christ, bless this meeting. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. And God bless.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Crawford.
Thank you.
Great. Pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Awesome. Roll call, please, City Clerk.
Yes, Mayor Wimberly,
You're reporting from Inkster City Hall, County Wayne.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Here, reporting remotely from home, City of Inkster.
Councilmember Williams,
Here, reporting remotely from my home in the city of Inkster in the county of Wayne.
Councilmember Washington,
Here, reporting remotely from the city of Inkster, County of Wayne.
Councilmember Watley, Councilmember Watley,
Yes, reporting remotely from my home in the city of Inkster, County of Wayne, Inkster, Michigan, County of Wayne.
Councilmember Chisholm,
Present reporting remotely from my home in Inkster, Michigan, County of Wayne.
and Councilmember Shaw.
Here, I'm reporting from Inkster, Michigan. Thank you.
There are 7 present. You have a quorum.
Awesome. All right, moving right into the general meeting. Approval of the agenda.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Support.
Been moved and properly supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Councilmember Washington,
Yes. Yes, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay, yes.
Councilmember Watley,
Yes,
Councilmember Chisholm,
Yes.
and Councilmember Shaw.
Yes.
Okay, that's a 6-0 vote.
All right, motion carries. All right, taking us to presentations and discussions. We do have on the line with us tonight, Plant Moran. Brian Calmer is the principal there, and he will be doing a presentation for us as it relates to our budget and our audit. Gerald Green, of course, is our treasurer, and supporting questions or any other items the Bureau would like to present will be presented at this time. Brian, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much for the opportunity to meet with you today. With me is Michelle Lewis. If she could also be unmuted. We have a PowerPoint presentation that we're going to go over, including a proposed budget amendment for your consideration. I did notice that the packet that was posted to the city's website did not include the corrected version of that amendment. It is correct in the PowerPoint, and Michelle's going to cover that in just a second. But I wanted to make sure that if you don't have in front of you what matches what we have on the PowerPoint, we can send that via email to council so that you end up having the same thing by the time it's time to vote on that amendment. So with that, I will turn it over to Michelle to start the presentation, and then I will be back halfway through.
Hey, everybody. Can you see the spreadsheet on my screen?
We see the PowerPoint, the cover.
The cover. Fantastic. Okay, thank you. Good evening, Council, Mayor, members of the public. As Brian mentioned, the PowerPoint that we have here is the updated version. So what we're bringing forward to you today is the budget amendment for the first amendment for 2022 fiscal year. And overall, what we have here is an increase to your general fund revenues of about 1.4 million, 1.35 to revenues, and an increase of 1.1 million to your expenditures, which is a net result of a 249,000 increase to fund balance. The drug law enforcement fund, we have a $5,000 increase to your expenditures. So that decreases fund balance by $5,000. And the water and sewer fund has a $946,000 increase in expenditures and decreases net position by $946,000. So on the next slides here, we'll go over what those changes are. The first one is your general fund amendments here. As you can see, the city has made about $725,000 for sale of land from first right of refusal and from other sales. And then you had 2 judgment levies on the property taxes. So that added another $600,000. And with that, we have $646,000 in expenditures related to those settlements. $441,000 related to the purchase of the land that you sold. And then there were 2 expenditure line items that were just trending slightly over budget. So we went ahead and made the budget amendment for those. So this increases your net position or your fund balance by just under $250,000 at the end of 2022 if everything stays the same. Then we moved on to the drug law enforcement fund, and equipment maintenance is just trending a little bit higher. So we propose a $5,000 budget amendment to increase the expenditure line there. And then water and sewer fund, your DPW director gave us some amendments to some projects that he is working on right now. So the lead service line is the largest one of that, and that is $608,000. And along with that, there are some professional fees, repairs and maintenance that are trending higher. So switching gears from the budget amendment to the audit itself. This is the audit for last year, the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. We are in the middle of the audit right now. We do expect for the audit to also have an unmodified opinion like it had been in the past. And that's the highest level of assurance your auditor can give you. It's a clean opinion that the statements are materially correct and that you can rely upon those statements. When we look at the internal controls, we do expect to have repeat findings similar to prior years. And we do expect that there is going to be an instance of noncompliance related to the Budget Act. And the reason for that is that you did have a deficit this year, and you did have some things that were over budget, and technically that is a violation of the Budget Act. So just a reminder, this report that comes out when your auditors do that, it's a report on the presentation of the city's finances. So it just says that things are reported the way they actually happen. It does not comment on the economic or financial well-being of the city. So we've put together a few slides that touch upon the financial well-being of the city. And as you can see here, as of year ending 6/30, you can see the last few years, your expenditures have exceeded your revenues. And we know that that is the case, and your fund balance has been slowly declining over the last few years. You have not exceeded your expenditures and revenues since 2017. Keep in mind that these are unaudited numbers. It's subject to change slightly, but they're closed as far as the city is concerned right now. And here is a graph of the fund balance of the city. As you can see, in 2013, 2014, that was pre-emergency manager years. It was significantly negative. The fund balance started picking up through 2017, and now it's been declining every year since. And the 2020 was a negative fund balance. The 2021, we expect to be even further negative fund balance. And a large reason for that is that the deficit includes $1.2 million of uncollected grant receivables. And these are grants that you did spend the money, but you didn't get the money back from the state or the granting agency. And the accounting rules say if you don't get that revenue by the end of August, you can't count that revenue in that year. $900,000 of that revenue has subsequently been collected, and it was collected in October of 2021. So that does help, but it's not reflected in these statements or in these numbers. So how did you get to this point? Property taxes is a big reason. In 2008, 2009, the property tax values started plummeting because of the Great Recession. And if you see here, the red is your lost revenue compared to 2009. If you add up all of the red sections here, your lost revenue from 2010 to 2020 is nearly $26 million. So you're working with $26 million less of fund balance that you could have had the recession not happened and the taxable values not gone down. And then this graph shows your property tax captures. And your property tax capture, which is the amount that you're capturing from other units in a TIF district, in your case, it would be a TIF or a brownfield, would be that baseline is the red line. If you see the difference between the red line and everything after 2013, you've lost all that revenue. And it's steadily decreased. It increased a little bit in 2021, but it's going to take a long time to even get back to the 2009 values. So, do you have enough fund balance right now? No. The short story is no. The Government Finance Officers Association recommends you have 2 months of expenditures. The city policy says that you should have 10 to 15%. However, as of June 30th, 2021, the city actually has a negative fund balance of $425,000. And it's actually worse than that because $600,000 is money that has been collected and is restricted. So your unrestricted deficit is about 1.1 million. And like I said, you do have grant money that is coming in, which will make 2022 look better. But as of the end of 2021, you will need to file another deficit elimination plan. So that's your past. Brian is going to talk about your future, and I'm going to stop sharing so he can share.
Actually,
Does anybody have any question?
Michelle, go ahead and continue sharing for me. So
Oh, okay, perfect. Yep, no problem.
Okay, so as Michelle mentioned, you started FY21 with a deficit of 98,000 and added another 325 through the audit. And as part of whenever you end the year in the audit or end the year in a deficit, the state of Michigan Department of Treasury asks that you file a deficit elimination plan, which you did, and it was accepted by the state. Now, part of that plan was the FY22 budget. So at the time we filed, we were hoping that unspent grant money would have been receipted already as part of FY21. And since it wasn't, we'll have to amend the plan and explain how that $900,000 of grant revenue came in later. And actually, I mean, as we sit here today, you would still have an unrestricted deficit, but that 900,000 puts your total fund balance, if we were to restate June 30, 21, it puts you back into the black. Not in compliance with your policy, not in compliance with GFOA's best practice recommendation or minimum practice recommendation, I should say, but you will be in the black. So the FY22 original budget figured you'd have net income, as it were, of 789,000. And now with this amendment that we're proposing to you today, the amended budget will have a net income of $1 million for the year. So that's good. That's positive. You certainly being in the black is better than being in the red, but that is a little bit misleading because included in your net revenue and included in that figure is $2.4 million of ARPA money in the budget. So if you'll recall, back in the spring, when you approved the FY22 budget, it included $2.4 million of ARPA. At the time when the budget had been proposed, we had not been given the rules yet on how ARPA was to be treated. That came out shortly thereafter, after council passed the budget. So you will have net income for the year, but it's going to include all $5 million of ARPA. The ARPA number's been revised. But what that means is that you have a structural deficit. So breaking even or making $1 million when 2.5 of it is a federal gift, as it were, that means you still have a structural deficit because that ARPA money isn't being spent on a new project or new construction. It's just going to help balance your budget. So a structural deficit is when your regular routine revenue is not enough to pay for your regular routine expenses. In other words, the city of Inkster is relying on one-time revenue, grants or gifts, or the sale of land, things that we can't repeat year in and year out in perpetuity. So this is not a sustainable business model. If you were a business and you were continuing to just luck into revenue, not from your sales or the driver of your business, it would not be a sustainable business. And anyone lending you money would be concerned that you weren't a long-term viable option. Next slide, please. So this graph is the same as the one that Michelle talked about earlier, except that for the 22 budget, we've taken away ARPA. So if that ARPA didn't exist, you'd be short by this $1.5 million. So that would be like the 5th year in a row that the city spent more than it took in. And if we didn't have that ARPA, your fund balance at the end of FY22, just 6.5 months from now, it would be $2 million in the hole. So you can see that the point is you're living off the ARPA right now. The fact that you're going to finish having some fund balance and not being 2 million in the hole is purely the result of that ARPA money. So, God willing, we never have another pandemic, and the federal government won't have to give us any kind of rescue plan money. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about the rescue plan. And I've touched on it already, but I want to be very clear. So you're going to receive $2.5 million, split into 2 payments. The first one you may have already received just recently. The second one should be in the spring. It can only be used in 4 different ways, and we talked about this last time. Water and sewer projects, but that doesn't help the general fund. Some economic recovery programs, which also would not help the general fund. Then also there is a provision for providing bonus wages for frontline workers during the pandemic. But the fourth is where we would be recommending that the city uses it and what your budget is calling for. So there's this thing called revenue loss replacement. And there's a formula that can be used in order to calculate what that revenue loss is. And fortunately for the city of Inkster, the calculation as provided by the government says that for calendar year 2020, the city of Inkster lost over $2.5 million. And so you can take the full amount of your ARPA award and put it into this revenue loss replacement category. Now, the government says that once you've qualified this amount as revenue loss, you can spend it on pretty much any governmental activity. You can't put it into your pension system, you can't pay for debt, and a few other things, but primarily any service that the city of Inkster provides is a governmental service. So what most other cities are doing is they're using this money, once it's qualified as revenue loss, to pay for something like city wages, just basic wages, which then frees up money to be spent on a new fire truck or a construction project or whatever else that the city would like to do. So basically you're spending restricted money to free up unrestricted money. But you're not able to do this. You're not able to free up money to pay for a new project because all of your ARPA money is needed in this current budget just to pay for current operations. So at the end of fiscal year 22 in June, you should have fund balance again, but it will be less than your policy would dictate, and it would be less than the GFOA would recommend as the minimum that a city should have in its general fund. And this is because you've been sliding financially for several years now. So just to be clear, the city of Inkster is using its ARPA award to balance the 2022 budget and subsidize current operations. So non-monetary operating issues. What does the city need to take care of at this point? So the city had to file, in addition to the deficit elimination plan last year, you also had to file a corrective action plan. So the deficit elimination plan is meant to eliminate the deficit as recorded in your financials. The corrective action plan is to fix the material weaknesses that were identified in the 2020 audit. Those 2020 findings were repeat findings for the most part that had existed in 2019 and in some cases earlier than that. So we are expecting several of these material weaknesses to repeat again in fiscal 21's audit. We won't get that audit report from Raymond until probably January, if not a little bit later than that. But you'll have to file a new corrective action plan with the city's intention on how to fix these findings. I don't know how lenient the state will be in accepting a plan if it looks exactly like the last plan that was not able to be executed. Now, some of these things that are the findings, it's a result of the city having significant turnover over the last several years in key positions. So a lot of the new people or newer people are just learning about these material weaknesses for the first time. So as long as the current team remains in place, then the city should be able to make progress on rectifying these material weaknesses so that they don't repeat again in fiscal year 22's audit. But if turnover remains as consistent as it's been for the last couple of years, is city staffing being consistently inconsistent, just from a standpoint of having new people cycling in? If that's the case, then I wouldn't expect anything to get corrected, because new people, it takes them a while. There's a learning curve to figuring out how to run the city and fulfilling their obligations. And so I would expect any new person is going to have their hands full just getting the bills paid and providing service to the residents. But hopefully the current team will remain. I think you've got some good new people on staff, and they should be able to make some progress. So what now? We've got to get the 2021 audit complete. And that is not going to be filed on time, just as it was not filed on time last year. We're still waiting on some reporting related to OPEB. There are some other open items that the auditors are waiting on, and we are working very hard every day to get the auditors what they need. Once the audit's complete, the city will have to revise the deficit elimination plan and the corrective action plan. And bigger picture, if you want to reverse those financial trends that we covered on the previous slides, and that we've talked about for the last several years in the presentations that we've given you, the city needs to cut spending in the current fiscal year and beyond. So in order for you to support on your own the services that you provide, you need to have about, you only have revenue of about 13 million that you can rely on through property taxes, state shared revenue, fines and fees coming from the court, other charges for service. To the extent you have to rely on grants or federal handouts, it's a recipe for disaster. So really, to right size the budget and correct the structural deficit, you need to get your spending down into the range of $13 million. Now, how you do that is going to be up to you, but it's going to be a series of very difficult decisions, and likely painful ones at that. You've heard me say this before, but you really need to turn back the clock to 2015. That's the last time that you were making money on a consistent basis, or at least breaking even or better. And in that 2014, 2015 year period, you had revenues under $14 million. That's where you have to get the spending back to. And on the right side of this page, it was at that point that you were climbing out of the deficit and establishing that by 2017 was a decent fund balance. So it's a multi-year process. It won't happen overnight. And you do have some time, but not a lot. The sooner you can get busy with this, the better you'll be, and the sooner you'll achieve your objective. And that objective is to have a stable budget where spending is supported by the city's reliable resources, property taxes, state shared revenue, charges for service, and end the reliance on grants and one-time windfalls. Any questions that I can answer for council this evening?
Yeah.
Yes, but Mr. Mayor, I have a question for Brian.
Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
In this plan, where do we have money to pay our loan back to the state? Because I think that's going to be like $380,000. It's going to start in 2022.
The city has not set aside the full amount, but you will, if it's, I think it's only 380, that you'll be able to pay it. Yes.
Okay. And the condition that we are in right now, it's almost like we're going back into the percentage. So what is the state doing to try to help us make good decisions in spending? Is anybody from the state down here helping us? Because we've been through this presentation several times, and it doesn't seem to click that we need to cut spending. We didn't cut it from our last budget. We were supposed to be cutting, we didn't do it. This is serious. So I think we need help. We need a lot of help to get us in the black. Because we're not doing any cutting. We just like robbing Paul to pay Peter. And like he said, for us to do this, we're gonna have to go back to what we did before when we cut. And there was some painful cuts back then, and I did not ever want to go through this again, but we're here. So we're gonna have to do some painful cuts. One more question I have, and I yield. We do have our reports that come out every month, Brian, but there's been a glitch because of our payroll system. Will that offset this dollar amount? Because we're not getting, the actual payroll in our reports. So is that something that's going to mess us up at the end because we didn't calculate it?
I'll answer your last question first. So you're right, there's been a problem with the third-party payroll provider. We've not been able to record the payroll correctly. And so the monthly reports that you're getting are light on expenses. So we know that. The fact that the monthly reporting is light is not going to make better or make worse your financial situation. The city has not hired a bunch of new people that aren't already in the budget. So once the accounting is caught up, you should still be on track with the budget. Now, to answer your first question about the state involvement, State of Michigan Department of Treasury is paying attention to what is going on in the city of Inkster.
Thank you.
Over the last couple of years, we have had several meetings, a fairly open dialogue between the Department of Treasury, the mayor's office, and the finance office. And so they're very aware of what's going on. But in terms of actually providing support, they're not in that business so much anymore. Since the Flint water crisis, neither Governor Snyder nor Governor Whitmer have placed any new emergency managers, nor have they given any consent agreements. The state really does not want to be in the business of running local government anymore. So I would not anticipate heavy involvement from the state. They have offered support in the way of providing some recommendations or being a part of the conversation, but quite honestly, you're on your own. That's not to say that you can't do this on your own, because I believe you can, but I would not expect someone from outside the city to come in and help save the day. I think you have to do this on your own.
Wow. Well, we're gonna see. It's been challenging, and it's and I understand everybody is doing their best, but at the end of the day, we come up with budget amendments. People are still spending like it's not their money, but it's not clicking that we've been in trouble. We've been in trouble for quite some time, and it's not clicking. So
yeah, I think.
Okay, I yield.
Okay, and Mayor Pro Tem Howard, just to add to that, I think when Brian says to get back to 2015, we're talking about police officers being part-time and making $15 an hour and with no benefits. The fire department, going down from the 20 officers that we have now to 10. So those are the biggest expenditures that we're talking about. We're not talking about so we're not talking about on the daily as it relates to the clerk's office or the treasurer's office, or the mayor's office as it relates to spending, because everything else is discretionary funds. So you have the building department that there's its own funding. You have the rec complex that it's its own funding, and you general fund is supported mainly. We're supporting the police department and the fire department. So we have to like we know it's a hard decision, and we know those decisions have to be made. But I think that we can't just cut. We need to look for revenue, and we have to continue to add to the bottom line as it relates to bringing in new businesses into the city of Inkster. Being as vigilant as we can as it relates to finding other sources of revenues. I know that Brian, said, of course, with grants and all that stuff like that, we can't rely on that, but we have to do what we must in order to add more money to the general fund. Now, I know that I did ask the question of Plan Moran, and I've been waiting on an answer as it relates to the increase that we will be receiving from state shared revenue. I don't know if that's going to make a true significant difference, but I think that we need to continue to have those conversations with the state, which we are having those conversations with the state. We meet with the state monthly, the treasurer, along with myself, as it relates to the budget and what's going on. But they've been as supportive as they possibly can. But we know that they do have a little bit more money than we have from ARPA as it relates to $44 billion. And we're looking for the state to, for the most part, right. I believe that was the wrong in 2008 when they looked to balance their budget at the state level by cutting municipalities from state share revenue like the city of Inkster. So those conversations are being had. It's tough. I don't think the city of Inkster can afford to cut any police, can afford to cut any fire as it relates to the quality of service in the city of Inkster. We need them all on the front line. We need to increase.
Yeah, we do, Mr. Mayor. But at the end of the day, we're gonna have to do something because we won't have a city for the police or fire to run. We have to do something. I mean, we can go out. We need something like today, and we've been needing that. It's not just this happened. It's been happening for the last 3 or 4 years. We've been needing this cut, and nobody seems to want to cut. And I understand that, we have I don't want to lose anybody, but at the same time, we needed to stop spending money a long time ago. We should have still spent money like we was in a consent agreement. And we didn't. We have nothing. And it's a shame because, they put us at the top and we then went down. We failed our city again because we have no money.
I agree. I'm pretty sure someone else wants to jump in. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, I yield.
Any other questions, comments as it relates to what has been presented before you tonight in the council?
Mr. Chair, I did want to jump in real quick.
Go ahead, Councilman Shaw.
I understand what Brian was saying about the FY22 budget. Now, given the fact that we're going to get the 2.4 million, now that's going to set us clear to for what year? Is it FY22?
Yes, you'll get the ARPA money for FY22.
So at the end of this fiscal year, June 30th, that will hit the books that you're saying.
Yes, we've been told that it will be distributed in the spring.
So then that would give us a clear or a solid foundation to start whatever we're going to start doing, far as finding other shares of revenue, doing any type of particular cuts. And that's going to give us that 789,000 in the black, right?
Yeah, you will have eliminated the deficit, and you'll have some fund balance to get started with, but you won't yet be up to the amount of fund balance that your internal policy requires.
Yeah, now that internal policy, I know, because we set that internal policy back in 2015, well earlier than that, of 10 to 15%. So do we need to solidify that to 15 or 16% so we can reach that 2.5 months of expenditure?
Well, I don't believe that there's anything in the policy that I'm not sure what the teeth are in the policy to make you enact some kind of change or correction. You'll be short of the policy. I wouldn't change the policy. I think the policy is a good one. Part of the budget process for FY23, you should be having a conversation as part of that process about where does this put us at June 30, 2023, compared to what our policy will require.
Okay, now, because right now, when we hit that level of 789,022, it kind of puts us on a solid footing. So now, as we prepare for the next fiscal budget, that's when we can have the discussions about making sure that we can cut here, so we can make sure that that next fiscal year we will still be Black, you know, in a better shape, hopefully, but still, you know, on a solid foundation.
Agreed.
Because this Harper, it clears our calendar, so to speak, and it gives us that solid foundation where we can be in the Black. Now, when you talked about, you know, we can't do these structural types of things or maintain this type of structure. You know, back in the 2015 and 14, you know, there were dramatic, painful cuts. I think Mayor Pro Tem talked about it. You know, it was hurtful. And, you know, today is different than it was back then, because as you may mention about the high turnover or turnovers or people leaving. Now, if we have to go back to that 2015, that would probably put us right back in the same situation. Wouldn't you agree?
It's got to be a long-term fix. It's not cut for a couple years and then go back to spending.
Right, exactly.
Absent a new source of revenue, whatever you cut down to, you're going to stay there in perpetuity.
Yeah, and that's where we are, especially with our highest expenditures. And those are, I think the mayor may mention, you know, is our police and fire, you know, is, you know, those high expend types of line items. So, you know, it is a balancing act. I know that we have to maintain here, because, you know, cutting firefighters, cutting officers is where we are right now still. So I know that won't be a long-term fix. Now, when we talk about, you know, the grant funding, now, you know, even though you may mention that those are one-hit wonders, does that still help the general fund if we are able to go out and have a firm that, you know, writes specifically for grants for the city to bring in revenue?
Well, it does help, but they don't just, with the exception of ARPA, they don't just give you money to spend however the city wants. It's usually got to be a new expenditure, a new, you know, construction project of some kind. So if you were going to do that project anyway, the grant keeps you from having to dig into the general fund budget to do it. But unless, I don't think they're doing any more safer grants right now to pay for firefighters. I don't think that there's a cops grant to help keep police on the street. So those operating expenditures are not covered by the grants. It's going to be, you know, a demolition project or a new construction project, but it doesn't usually cover people.
Yeah, so if we was to, you know, go out for I know we talked about this, or it was alluded to, you know, having a grant firm that will assist the city so that we can go after, you know, unseen dollars. that are, that are not just, so much publicized, for all to grab.
Yeah, we are working on that, Councilman Shaw. We'll be bringing that, it'll be on next agenda, on the 20th. We just wanted to make sure that we had all the information that we needed. This particular organization, along with Detroit Rescue Mission and the chairman for Detroit Rescue Mission, Dr. Chad, wants to be involved in the discussion to see if there's some way that we can focus his efforts with his staff to be able to help them to help the city of Inkster as well. So we will be bringing that information here next council meeting.
Very good. And I just, want to say this, Mr. Chair, is that, we can't not hold up businesses, in any way from coming to the city. Now, I'm not talking about nonprofits or anything like that, but, substantial businesses and people who want to buy, in the city of Inkster, because, we're going to get a solid foundation, but we're going to have to utilize that to the fullest so that we can make sure that we can keep moving the city forward. 2015 was a different time in, for us when we had to make those decisions, tough decisions. It doesn't really, to me, it doesn't really apply today because, we have a great resignation of, people leaving for better jobs, so, it's a different day. So we have to come with a new and different approach, Mr. Chair, so that we can make sure that we keep this solid footing that we're going to get in FY22.
Agreed.
Mr. Chairman.
Let me say this, Councilman Shaw, you yield the floor. Councilman Shaw?
Yeah, I'm all set, Mr. Chair. I'm all set.
All right, thank you, Councilman Williams. Go ahead, sir.
Let me say this, okay, because I know in all of the meetings that I've been in prior to me getting on council, we talked about, we've been having this steady conversation about cutting staff or cutting staff down. But, we had to look at, and I've watched since we've been in council, what we have to do is we got so much vacant land and different things. We got land, property, buildings and something that we're not even collecting taxes off of, that all 7 of us should have our concentration on trying to get rid of these buildings and make something out of them and put them back on the tax roll, because every one that you got out there, that we got out there, I don't know if we can tally up exactly how much money we're losing on all these buildings and things that we have, the land that we have, we're not getting a dime off of it, okay? And another thing, we've been talking since I got on council about rolling up our sleeves and start doing so. We know we're going, and the longer we wait, whatever we got to do, okay, to cut funds for the city, we have to get on it now and don't hesitate any longer, because the simple fact, as long as we keep talking about it, it's going to continue to grow, okay? So what we got to try to do is put something together that we can live with, okay? Right now, we can say, well, we're going to keep working everybody now, knowing we're running the debt, but yet and still, when that time comes, you're going to have to make that decision anyhow. So what I'm saying is now we need to roll up our sleeves and let's start getting with the mayor and start, putting things in place. Okay, now we've been selling a lot of land, we've been selling a lot of buildings, trying to bring the income up in taxation. We've been doing that, but it should be done a little higher than that. Okay, so let's roll our sleeves up, because we all in this together. Let's roll our sleeves up and try to continue to bring money in here. Since I've been on council, I don't care what y'all say, but since I've been on, I've been trying to sell every piece of land in my district, okay, and all over the city, okay. And if we all get out there, and I know some of council people have done the same thing, so we get out here and get this land sale and get it back operating in here. Improve our Michigan Avenue system where we can get people in here. We got to do that. We can't wait. We can't keep talking about it. You see what I'm saying? We have to get out there and do something about it. But I want to make this statement, Mr. Mayor. I am very disappointed in the federal government and the state, how they actually did Inkster. Okay, I do understand they say that we're one of the 50 states up under we're one of the 50 cities up under this county. But if you look at it, the blow that we got was not right. Okay, I'm just gonna say it like that. Okay. You see what I'm saying? Because you go on some of these other cities with smaller residents than we have, and the amount of money that they got from the federal government versus what we got, you know, and it's just not fair. Okay. And the thing about it is, but Inkster always got the lowest of both. So what I'm saying is now, you know, let's start today. Okay. Start tomorrow morning or whatever it is, and start seeing what we can put together. See, we can't, ain't a lot of cutting we can do, okay? So the people still have to have safety, the people still got to have stuff in the community. But if we start improving a lot of taxation in here, we'll be all right. We'll be all right. So I'm just saying, you know, let's meet more. You know, we ain't got time to criticize. You heard Plant Moran, Mr. Howard, you heard him. So let's get it done. They said this about a year ago, and it's keep coming the same thing. We got to cut spending in our budget. So, I mean, we got to hit this for the next year to be even higher. Thank you, Mr. President. Man.
You're welcome. Council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman Wiley.
Yes, just a couple of things. First, I'd like Plant Moran to send me the presentation that you just had. The one in my packet is different. Also, this corrective plan you submitted to the state, were we given a copy of that? And if not, could I request one at this time?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that went to council or not, but I will send both of those to the entire council.
Okay. And for Mr. Mayor, the next time, is it possible for council to attend the state talks that you have, or a member of council to be included in that, or to know when they occur? So if they do have the time available, they can go with you or sit on the panel or whatever?
Oh yeah, for sure. I would love that, Councilwoman Wiley, and it'd be great if you want to do that with me.
I didn't say all that. I just asked if it was possible.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's possible for sure.
Okay, and now I have a question about this budget. I'm trying to clarify. You're asking for an amendment of 1 mil plus, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and then in the spring, we'll be getting 1.2 million from the ARPA money.
Yes, that's already in the budget.
So, it's already included in it, and this is an additional 1+ mil to it. I mean, the numbers, you know, when they get this high, get awful confusing. So we already have an additional a million from the ARP money in our budget that is over budget $1 million.
No, we put in the budget is 2.4 million of ARPA. So all 2.4 is already budgeted for. Actually, Michelle, can you put the slides back up, please?
Sure. 1 second. Right.
Go all the way back to the budget amendment.
Yep. There we go.
One more. There you go. So in the original budget, see that 15,609,889? That number includes 2.4 million of ARPA. So including that amount, you were going to make 789,000 for the year. 15.6 of revenue, 14.8 of expense. So the amendment includes things that were not included in the original budget. And it's pretty much a wash, except for the sale of land other. So I think to date, you've sold something like $240,000 worth of various parcels that the city owns. And I see in today's agenda, there's another couple for a few $1,000s. That's why we just rounded it up to $250,000 even. But the first right of refusal land, you bought it and sold it. The settlements that you had judgment levies for, you collected the judgment and then you distributed it out to the defendants. So the amendment is basically just adding $250,000 of additional revenue.
Which is a good thing, right, Brian?
Absolutely. Every little bit helps. And I agree with Councilman Williams that said, sell the land that you own and get it back on the tax rolls. Absolutely.
That is definitely the mission.
Can I go on, maybe?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. This money has already been spent, which is why we're amending, correct?
Yes, you already bought and sold the first right of refusal land. You already collected and distributed the tax levy, correct?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Chisholm.
I was just going to say, I know, excuse me, in the past, yes, Plan Miranda came before us February 2020. And again, this year, earlier in the summer, when we were in our budget talks and we were basically, these graphs were almost identical. Or the PowerPoint presentation itself, with slight changes to reflect present day. I guess I'm just lost, and I hope everybody takes into context how we're going to work on this, because during the budgets and budget talks and the budget amendments, when things were suggested, recommendations, and I'll go as far as to say, like, how much we're paying in attorney's fees. And I'm just using that as an example. Let's do a cost to compare, to other cities and see, if we would have to change. And like, again, I'm just using that to save money, because we're talking about, cuts and bringing in additional revenues, as well as we looked at things like the insurance, for instance, at different agencies and brokers and stuff like that, who particularly could give more or better coverage to the city for a lesser dollar amount. But I know once the budget got approved and everything like that, none of those things were acted on, if you will. And so we're back at the same step that we are at. So I just, again, want everybody to, I guess, kind of take into context that when we get ready to submit these things and make these changes, we actually really need to act on them, because once we get so far out again, we're right back right now doing a budget amendment. Because I know at the end of last year, one was approved for like 1.6, 1.7 million. And that was for over a 12-month span. And here we are, 6-month span, being requested to approve a $1.1 million budget amendment. So it's very scary and concerning.
Yeah, I think the budget amendment that you're talking about, those revenues that we're bringing in, not necessarily money that we're spending. But I totally agree with you as it relates to acting on recommended items. Now, understand this, that we have been doing our due diligence when we had brought forth the insurance situation. It was just the timing of it. So we have been doing our due diligence as it relates to that. So that will be coming before this body the first of the year, because it's just how the timing is. Of course, with insurance brokers, they need to do what they need to do. As it relates to, any contracts that we have with anybody, we can definitely put all of them on the floor. Right now, of course, we have our trash collection out right now, which that'll be coming before this body here pretty soon. And we can put RFP out for attorney services as well. This is just what it is. At the end of the day, it's nothing personal, it's business. So I totally agree with you. But we'll definitely be seeing that here come before first of the year.
And one last question or request, I should say. I know because I kind of harped on this in the past, and it was the AT&T discounts that were lost, where we should have been saving like some hundred thousands of dollars paying them because of the in-service or unjust service, whatever you want to classify it. And I know in that past amendment, we ended up having to vote to pay because the discount said they were lost. Is that being further investigated to get that billing rectified so we're paying a lesser amount?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I mean, you said that, you know, and that was one of the things that we had talked about when Phineas was here, as it relates to the ports that AT&T was charging us for. Is that what you're speaking on? And having,
Right.
David Jones would be the person to be able to answer that question, because I know that was something that we said that we wanted him to follow up on, and that we had, you know, given him pretty much all that information that Phineas had given to us, and that even, you know, other people, as we start to do our due diligence from the treasurer's office, working with Mr. Carrington, our former treasurer, putting information together to send over to the over to the attorney. So I'll definitely follow up with him and get you an update on that as well.
Okay, that sounds good. And I was just looking at that because when we were talking about savings, you know, with our vendors and stuff like that, and when everybody's talking about dialing the clock back to 2015, of course, we had way more employees then at the time, and we haven't had that many employees since. So it just kind of gets scary because it was a skeleton crew when it got cut in. And so I know now at this point, when you working with a skeleton crew and talking about cutting the skeleton crew, you ain't gonna have nothing but a femur and a pinky bone left. So, but I have nothing else, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Totally agree, Councilman.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Wiley, let me see if anyone else from the councilmatic body has any questions or thoughts.
Okay,
before we
no
proceed on.
problem.
Okay. Councilman Washington, you have anything for us?
No, I would just like to echo pretty much what my other colleagues saying, just making sure that we stay of course, and that, you know, with the HART money, that's, you know, putting us back or putting us at an even spot, but we definitely have to look out for not continuously spending. So I just pretty much would echo what my colleagues pretty much said, for sure, in regard to this fund, this actual budget.
All right, then. Sorry about that, Councilwoman Wiley. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I just have one question. Where is the money coming from to put this into effect? I mean, if we don't have it now and we're approving more, from where?
Brian, can you speak on that? I think I'm lost.
I'm sorry, Councilman Watley, I'm not understanding your question.
I just want to know, you want an amendment to the budget. You want us to add X amount of dollars to a budget that is already at a deficit. I just asked, where are we going to get the additional funds from?
No, ma'am. It's a good amendment for general fund. It's bringing more revenue in than the expenses. So this is a positive amendment for the city's operations.
Okay, but still that money has to come from somewhere, doesn't it?
It's already come from somewhere.
Where? Then that's all I'm asking is where's it come from?
The positive amount is coming from the sale of parcels of land.
Put back up the slide. There you go. And make sure that we forward that information forthright.
So starting at the top, that $250,000 of land, sale of land other, those are all of the miscellaneous parcels that you've been selling. And if you go all the way to the third line from the bottom, net revenue and expenditures, the net of this amendment is a positive $249,000. So that's to the good. You're not, this amendment is not asking you to spend more money.
Okay.
Okay. All right, then. Yes, go, Councilman Shaw.
I mean, you know, once we look at the next budget, you know we got $13 million to work with, sir.
Oh yeah, sure. Definitely, I'm definitely aware. We're working. Believe me.
Well,
all right, then. So thank you, Brian. I know you guys are going to hang around still a little bit because we do have an item B as it relates to the budget amendment for approval. So let's move right along. Consent agenda.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Wiley.
I'd like to make a motion for the consent agenda with the removal of the attorney fee or the attorney bill, attorney invoice.
Is there support?
Support for discussion.
All right, perfect. Let's remove. As it relates to the consent agenda, just so we're all on cue, we're going to just remove that from here on the consent agenda and put it under, let's get into discussion right after this as, City Clerk, should we put it under new business for discussion and action?
Yes.
All right, then, so let's make that item G then. And then on the consent agenda, just because it is what it is, it's not necessarily discussion, it's just consent. Let's consent on that for the minutes only. All right.
Okay, so move. Is that
All right.
that what we need to do at this point, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. Is there support?
Support.
All right. Roll call, please, City Clerk.
Councilmember Washington,
Yes.
Councilmember Watley,
Yes.
Councilmember Chisholm,
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Howard.
Yes.
Okay, the vote is 6-0.
Motion carries. Moving right along, let's get off into our second reading. City Clerk, please.
Second reading is council to offer a second reading of the Cherry Hill Family Development Ordinance that pertains to provisions for a service charge in lieu of taxes for housing projects for low-income persons and families financed with a federally aided or authority-aided mortgage loan or an advance or grant from the authority pursuant to the provisions of the State Housing Development Authority Act of 1966.
All right, what's your pleasure?
So move it, Tim.
Support.
Support. All right, Mr. Lark. I'm sorry, Mr. Lark. Mr. Mark from the Lark Group. If you could please, for the general public that probably hasn't been on the line, and for those that have been on the line, possibly want to hear exactly what we're proposing to do, because we do have an action item for this tonight. This is second reading. Can we unmute him, please? Mark from the Lark Group.
Yes. I'm here.
Give us briefly what it is that exactly that we're looking to do.
Yes, this would be a payment in lieu of taxes for the Cherry Hill Family Project, which is a 36-unit family, low-income existing apartment community. The real impact on this is, in fact, a new source of revenue for the city, in that this is a paired project with the adjacent property, which is a 150-unit senior apartment building, where that property would be added back to the tax rolls. Full ad valorem taxes would be paid on the senior property pursuant to Michigan Revised Code 2117D, which would allow the Michigan Treasury to pay full ad valorem taxes on the senior property. It would remove the pilot on the senior property and apply a new pilot to the family property, which is obviously a significantly smaller property. The net benefit across both properties through the passage of this pilot on the family property is a new source of revenue in the approximate amount of $90,000 per year in perpetuity because of the tax, the payment from the Michigan Treasury on the senior property. The pilot on the family property would obviously be, a reduction on the existing tax liability on the family property. The pilot payment amount, which I've reviewed on previous city council hearings and study session, be happy to go through that again, but the net result would be a $90,000 increase, new source of revenue to the city funds. And it would also result in all 186 units at both properties, the 150 unit senior property plus the 36 unit family property, receiving approximately $45,000 per unit in new rehabilitation expenditures to ensure that the units are up to current standards for all residents, and to also just generally improve the lives of the residents that live there. We're approximately 94% occupied across both projects. We have a wait list on both projects. This is a property that's in demand, and with our investment of approximately $45,000 per unit, we expect that interest to only increase. And it would also preserve affordable housing long-term in both properties. Both the senior project and the family project are currently low-income constrained properties, meaning that they have a long-term restriction to only be occupied by low-income residents. And with this project across both properties, that restriction would be preserved long-term for at least 30 years and likely into 40 years, depending on the final term of the HUD insured loan that we'd be using on these properties.
All right, then, and let me say that just for point of order and clarification, City Clerk or the Attorney, correct me if I'm wrong, as it relates to the second reading, is just to be read into the record, and then we can go into the action. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so no motion necessarily was needed in that. So I apologize to the body and to the general public. I just wanted to, I'm sorry. All right, then moving right into, let's go into new business, please, City Clerk.
Yes. Item A is to consider approval of Resolution 1221-214 COV, adopting the Cherry Hill Townhomes Family Pilot Ordinance that authorizes payments in lieu of taxes pursuant to provisions of the Michigan State Housing Development Authority Act, MCL 125.1401, for the Cherry Hill Family Development Center.
What's your pleasure?
So move, Mr. Chair.
There's support. Moved and properly supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please, City Clerk.
Councilmember Watley.
I'm sorry, I couldn't get my mic unmuted. I just had one question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, will these taxes, they will stay the same for the next 30 years? There is no increase like, we get in our taxes, it's the same 99? Is that correct?
That's a good question. Mark, can you answer that? Let's get him back in. Or Harry, either one.
Yeah, hello.
Go ahead.
So So the investment in these properties would increase the value. And obviously for the family project, that continues to increase as the calculation, which is based on net shelter rents, increases. So that would increase. For the senior property, I believe there would be an opportunity for an increase on the senior property. I will have to verify that year over year. I don't have the answer.
We do have our city assessor on the line, Marwan on the line, that is listening in. So if we need to get back to you as it relates to the latter answer, we will.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, that was my only question. And like I said, it's not going to impact me. I just want to know what to expect.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please, City Clerk.
Councilmember Watley,
Yes.
Councilmember Chisholm,
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Yes.
and Councilmember Washington.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, that's a 6-0 vote.
All right, motion carries. Item B, please.
Item B is to consider approval of the resolution to adopt the recommended budget amendments for fiscal year 2021, 2022.
What's the pleasure?
So move, Mr. Chair.
We're moving properly supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please, City Clerk.
Councilmember Chisholm,
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember Washington,
Yes.
and Councilmember Watley.
No.
Mr. Mayor, that's a 5-1 vote.
Motion carries. Item C, please.
Item C is to consider the approval to sell one vacant parcel located on the north side of Parkwood Street between Middlebelt Road and Division Street in the amount of $1,300.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Your support?
Support.
It's been moved and properly supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please, City Clerk.
Councilmember Shaw,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Councilmember Washington,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember Watley,
Yes.
and Councilmember Chisholm.
Yes.
I'm sorry, that would be Council. Oh,
Yeah,
thank
right.
you. There's a 6-0 vote.
Motion carries. Item D, please.
That's to consider approval to sell one vacant parcel located on the south side of Carlisle Street between John Daly and Bayham Street in the amount of $1,000.
What's your pleasure?
So moved.
Is there support?
Support for discussion.
Moved and properly supported. Discussion, please.
Is that, or Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman.
is that supposed to be Bayhan or Bayham?
Bayhan. I'm sorry. I thought that I had told him. It's Bayhan. I thought that I told the clerk to correct that. So it is Han, H-A-N.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Hearing none, roll call, please, City Clerk.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Councilmember Washington,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember Watley,
Yes.
and Councilmember Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, that's a 6-0 vote.
Motion carries. Item E, please.
Item E is to consider approval to sell one vacant parcel located on the east side of Isabel Street between Beach and Cherry Hill in the amount of $250.
Point of clarification, that's Cherry Street. And you would just, it's there on the, it's there, you just said hill instead of street.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's
Question.
street. What's your, well, no, I need a motion. Motion.
So
Anyone?
move, Mr. Chair.
Is there support?
Well,
Discussion, Councilman Williams. Councilman Williams, go ahead.
This, with this land, because I don't see anything saying, do the person that's buying this lot, is it next to the owner's lot or what? What is they?
Yeah, we talked about it. We talked about it a little bit in the orientation session. The realtor got on the line. This is a property that is adjacent to the owner's home. That's his
Okay.
actual driveway and the garage. But when he bought the property, the land, of course, was split, and the property, he thought that when he was buying the entire property, of course, it came with the garage like anyone else would think, but it did not.
Take care. Have a good night.
I apologize because I did not hear that, so I apologize. And thanks for bringing it to my attention.
No worries. And if you're off mute, I need you to watch your conversation in the background. Thank you. All right. Moving right along. Roll call, please, City Clerk, if there's no other discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember Watley,
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Councilmember Washington,
Yes.
and Councilmember Chisholm.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, that's a 6-0 vote.
All right, motion carries. Item F, please.
Item F is to consider authorizing city administration to grant Consumers Energy Company a temporary easement at 3250 Middle Belt Road, Inkster, Michigan, for storage of construction material for a period of 13 and a half months.
What's your pleasure?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Support.
Support.
I'm sorry, where did I get support?
You so move from Councilman Williams. And we're looking for support.
Support. I support it.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Discussion? And just for the general public, this is the old Inkster High School property. Consumers Energy has approached us to be able to store some of their vehicles along with some materials as they're doing infrastructure upgrades in the surrounding communities. We're looking to allow them to use the back 40. If you're familiar with Inkster High School property, we call it the back 40 because it abuts up to the smart depot there. So it's the property line is right off of there. They'll be constructing a fence, lighting, and they will be putting down gravel with a roadway through the property coming off of Middle Belt. And we are in talks with Abe Hashem, who actually owns the industrial park right behind it. It comes off of Beach Street, and his development looking to open up Industrial Drive into Beach Street. So if you talk about heavy equipment and other machinery coming through that area during this time period, they'll be able to come off of Henry Ruff Road. But at this time, we do have an agreement with them. If it passes the council, for $100,000 to use this property for storage and then to put those amendments there. And those amendments will actually stay there. And they'll stay there and we'll be able to utilize the property, continue to utilize the property again because of the back 40. For you all that have been attending different various functions at the property, you know, most of the time we don't even use that back 40 is all the way at the rear back of the property. So we'll still be able to use the property to do the necessary things that we want to do as the Inkster High Grounds have been used as kind of like a fairgrounds here in the city. We look at doing some more development there. So if there's any other discussion, you can have it now. If not, call for the question.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
my question is still the same. I had an orientation about the money. How will it be utilized? And I believe our answer was it can be put in the general fund too. Is that correct? It didn't have to go towards paying the school debt?
Correct. Harry, please, for the general public. Or John. John or Harry, either one of you guys, city attorneys. Go ahead, John. Go off you. We can't hear you if you're talking, John.
Now?
A little bit, get a little bit closer or turn up
Okay.
your.
How
We can
about-
hear you.
how-
We,
How about now?
you sound like a Jared commercial. Can we hear you? We can't hear you. Speak up a little bit.
Okay,
I don't know if it's your device, but we still can't hear you.
oh, boy, I'm trying to see if I can do something with the volume on this. How about now? Can you hear me now?
No, you're still vague.
Well,
Go ahead and
try to-
speak it.
Okay, the answer is no, there are no restrictions at all.
So there's no restrictions at all on the money. We can put it towards the general fund.
Correct, yes.
Okay, we can use it however we see fit to use it as it relates to maintenance to property or anything else that we're looking to do within the city of Inkster. We doesn't have to go towards the school debt.
That is correct.
All right.
Okay, Mayor, will we be having any discussions then on what would be the best way to utilize it?
Councilwoman, and I'm gonna tell you, you know, again, I'm back with Brian, is to increase our general fund. And to see, you know, where we would necessarily need the money as we go along as it relates to operations of the city. So if it's something that you're thinking in a particular project, then of course bring it forth. But you know, every land sale, anything that we're talking about bringing in additional revenue is going to the bottom line to increase the general fund.
Okay, it's just, I've had concerns in the past, reference spending, so. And I don't have any way to really have a viable impact on that. So I'm inquiring at this point. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir, Councilman Williams.
I'd like to make a statement on that because and I hope while we're monitoring that 100,000, that we don't use it for ongoing funds. Okay.
When you say ongoing funds, what do you mean?
Well, ongoing funds, because you know, after the 13 months, well, we're not getting any more of that at that particular point. So therefore, whatever we use it for, it shouldn't be used on ongoing funds, like in salaries or anything like that. What I'm saying.
Well, again, this is not a restricted funds, anything that, and again, you know, I definitely, whatever suggestions this councilman body has, you have as individuals, let's talk about it. But any land sales or any increased revenue, we're looking to right the ship. So when you make a statement like that, to not go towards salaries, what do you want to see it go towards? Because that's what we're having the problem with right now here in the city.
Well, the thing about it is, if you put it in, salaries are ongoing, okay, and that's why we need to really get into the conversation of setting the type of budget that we can live with, okay? Because, you know.
I think you said two different, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. No, of course we wouldn't add that to the budget as, you know, the $100,000 to pay for another officer, to bring an officer in with that, because it's not gonna maintain. Well, I totally agree with you 100%.
I have seen this city do that. That's the reason why I'm bringing it
No,
up.
we're not doing that. No, that wouldn't make sense. Now, if it's a project that you guys want to see, or you want to say, hey, that 100,000 is going to go towards, you know, the development or the upkeep of the property, the Inkster High School property, then, you know, or you want to, you know, take that 100,000 and put it into, you know, our parks, then, you know, I'm totally up for the discussion because it makes sense as it relates to that, because we definitely want to raise quality of life here in the city of Inkster as well, every opportunity we have. Well, we know this is, you know, this has come from our relationships with the city of Westland. They didn't have any space over in their area. They looked to my administration, and we came up with a solution as it relates to, you know, using this land and being able to, after the fact that it's not being utilized anymore, still being able to, you know, conduct our business as we see fit there, and while they're conducting their business. So I totally agree. Anything else from any other councilman? Councilman. Go ahead. Go ahead, Councilman.
One question, Mr. Mayor, because it takes you to put this together. When are we going to start conversation talk on revising our, you know, you made an amendment to the budget, but what we need to do is we need to sit around the table conversation and start seeing what we're going to either cut or ratify, or either what we're going to do to bring this down. We need to start now. So yeah. I'm just figuring that, you know, I'm prepared to roll my sleeves up. We need to see what the rest of the council that want to be, and I know you prepared to roll your sleeves up. So I figured that we need to get on this. We shouldn't put it off no more days, because every year I find out that we're running a deficit and we don't do nothing about it.
Councilman, and no disrespect to you and your thought. That's great, but we're on an item that has had a motion to it, and we're discussing that item right now.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
So during your time, let's talk about that and set that in motion.
All right, I'll discuss it another time. I'm sorry.
No, not being sorry. That's a good point. Yeah. Any other questions, comments from the council, everybody? Hearing none, roll call, please, City Clerk.
Councilmember Watley.
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Councilmember Washington.
Yes.
Councilmember Chisholm.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard.
Yes.
The vote is 6-0.
Motion carries. Item G, please, City Clerk.
Item G is an item that was removed from consent agenda for discussion, and that's the Allen Brothers invoice for September of 2021.
So moved.
Support?
Support.
All right, discussion, Councilwoman Watley?
Yes, I had some concerns. We're talking about saving money, and a lot of it goes to certain things. This invoice this month is higher than I've ever seen. It's over $42,000, and that's just September. I mean, we haven't even gotten November's yet, and we're in December. And a lot of the things when they send us the bill are not actually what you'd consider. I mean, they're not communicative. It's for instance, there's it says communicate external. And to me, those two words mean I talk to somebody outside, but I really have no idea what that is and what I'm paying for. Another problem I had with it is there were a couple of lawsuits on there that we were told have been dismissed and were no longer, you know, that it was over. Well, my idea of it being over is me not paying you anymore for it. but we're still being charged for these 2 lawsuits. So I'm just trying to get a better understanding. And also, once you do say this case has been over, that if you happen to list it again, you list that we were advised when it was dismissed. Because we're told in closed session about this, but very few times does it come out in writing like blah, blah, blah. I mean, it has come out. Don't get me wrong. I'm not totally, saying it didn't, but when you see them over and over again, it brings to mind that something hasn't happened right now. It may be all legalese, but I just want to be sure.
All right. Don Native? Attorney Native? Got your device working yet?
Hopefully it is. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
The volume is way down, sir. We cannot hear you.
Right. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you a little bit better now.
Okay. I took the microphone off. How's that now? Can you hear me?
A little bit better now.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly what Councilman Watley, which case you're referring to that was dismissed. Can you give me an example? Was it the Horn case?
Yes, that one and Lacani.
Okay, well, I handled the Horn case. And for example, the motion for summary disposition that I filed that was successful, the judge granted it and dismissed it before trial. That order came out in November. And I think part of the problem is that if we told you in November that it was dismissed, and it was, and we couldn't report that until we actually got the opinion dismissing it. If the bill that you have now is September, that may be why there's a gap in the bill. I can tell you from my personal experience on that one that because I filed my motion and then we had actually an oral argument, and then the court said we're going to schedule it for another settlement conference in case I don't rule in your favor. And then the clerk said to me, I want you to file a supplement, a reply. And I said, that's unusual because usually once you have oral argument, you don't file a reply to their response to my motion, but okay, if you want me to file one, I will. And then that pushed it over the edge and we won. But I'll double check my records, but that was entered in November. And so the bill you have now is September. So that would explain that one. The Lacani one, I didn't handle that. I think Chuck Rudy and David Jones did, and I'll have to double check on that for you. I'll be glad to get an update on when that was dismissed. And if your counsel would like a copy of the dismissal and the opinion, we can get that for you. That may answer that question. And as far as like, let's say, communication external, that could cover a number of things. The billing codes that we use are an abbreviation. So if I ever put communication external, it could be I communicated with opposing counsel or perhaps an expert witness, but it wouldn't be obviously the client, because if it were, then the billing code would say communicated with client. And so it could cover a number of things. When we do the billing, we do it based on the generic, and then if clients want specific things or they want specific detail, we can get more detailed. So I guess I would ask if your counsel wants or your mayor wants something different, more detailed, we can certainly provide that. I don't know if that answered your question fully, but if it didn't, I'll be glad to try to explain more.
Okay, well, there's a lot that's not answered fully. And what we do ask, we get charged for. So we're really reticent about asking for certain things. But I don't think it would take any more effort on the attorney's part to put communicated, external, whatever the case is, just the name of the case. How many keystrokes would that add? So That's all I'm saying is I just want to know what I'm paying for since I'm paying so much. That's my bottom line. And all of us here are saying we want to be cognizant of amounts being spent on things. Well, generally, you know, when you're spending money, you want to see the product. And I don't think that's hard. Also, I don't know if this is the time to bring this up, Mr. Mayor, or not, but I have asked for several months now for some sort of review or evaluation of our legal services. And I think this bill is a great conversation starter.
I agree. And like I told Councilman Chisholm, I'm telling the body and the general public, we'll definitely start to formulate that and get that out the first of the year.
Okay, well, that was the extent of what I had.
Okay. Now it is, and I didn't, you know, and this is again my fault as it relates to just the motion itself. Is it a motion to accept the bill or to reject the bill? You would make it or the motion.
I was just making the bill because that was the only way we could discuss it. If I'm voting on it, it's no.
Okay, then. All right, so let's just say the bill to accept the bill as is. Any other questions or comments as it relates to this item?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I can't get in my email right now, but I do know like the bills, we have a set fee that they charge us each month. But other than that, it's itemized and it's been like that for years. So I'm not sure what's going on with, you know, with some members not understanding this and that. But is this bill, the $42,000, is it past due payments as well that we didn't pay? Because I do know we don't pay. When we get the bill, it always has the past due amount that we should have paid them. I can't recall that because I'm not looking at that. Does anybody know if this bill has, is it any past due that we have that the city has not paid?
No,
Well, okay.
let me just say this from my review of it, it was basically other items as well. A couple of outstanding cases that David Jones was mentioned in handling. So in addition to what they normally do, they're handling some other outside cases that I know were listed.
Okay, I found the page because the page numbers is not here. I found it, but it doesn't say. It just say for September, it's 42,000, but in litigation it was 34,000. Okay, and then the labor is that with the contracts too, right? With in labor talks, right?
Right.
Okay,
correct.
that's okay. Okay, so that's all of that included in that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I just was looking at this. That's all.
Well, that's a good point to bring out too. And
Yeah, because they're doing more in this, if you look at it, than what they would normally have done. But the litigation is, I mean, you know, the bottom line is if everybody can sue, whether or not they win or they don't. But if we didn't have any lawsuits, then they wouldn't be getting paid this. And I don't think that going back for years, however long they've been here, you can go back and look. They were giving us a discount, but I'm not going to argue with that tonight. But we can look and find out. And when we say save money, you can't save money when we keep getting hit with litigation. I just don't understand how we're going to do that. But that's just my opinion. But go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One other thing, Mr. Mayor, when we're late paying them, don't they charge us like 15% or something?
You got me on that, Mr. Green. Can you answer that? We will find that out.
Yes,
But I think so.
we're not late paying them. We haven't received any late fees from them for not paying them on time.
But if you read the bill, it says that there is a surcharge if the bill is late by X amount of days.
But we haven't had that problem.
But it's still there. That's my question, not whether you've done it or not whether you paid on time.
It is there, but we have been paying them on time, but it is there.
Thank you. That's my question.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions, comments as it relates to this item? Roll call, please, City Clerk.
Councilmember Shaw,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Councilmember Washington,
Yes.
Councilmember Chisholm,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Yes.
and Councilmember Watley.
No.
The vote is 4-2.
Motion carries. All right, moving right into public participation. This brings us to the time in our agenda where we open the floor up to the public. We would ask, of course, that you be mindful of your time. You have 1 minute. Also, too, of course, that you be respectful of the body and as it relates to the business of the city of Inkster. Councilman Chisholm, if you can give them the technical side of it, please.
Yes, for those who joined us by Zoom, please use the raise hand feature to be recognized. For those who have joined us by telephone, please use *9 to raise your hand to be recognized. Once you are recognized, please state your name for the record. At this time, Mr. Mayor, we have one hand raised.
All right. For some reason, please. Number ended in 3597.
Yes, my name is Dennis Black.
All right. Moving right along. Anyone else?
I don't see any other hands.
It's hard to believe. I know that our folks for sure have some information they wanted to share.
And it's possible if they're not familiar with.
Okay.
So that's
all right. Well, we'll just get down to it. I'll give some context for folks if they shine me in. I know that other folks want to talk about the Goodfellas, some other stuff we're doing around the community. All right, moving right along. Then, City Clerk, got anything for us? City Clerk.
I did say that I don't have anything. I'll yield to the treasurer.
All right, thank you. City Treasurer, you have anything for us?
Yes, in regards to the budget items and the finances within the general fund, I've created a spreadsheet. And I mean, what you have to do is basically just look at your revenues, look at your expenditures, and see, how you're trending at this point. And so we've identified those items that are looking favorable and those that are looking unfavorable. And so our next step is to just meet with those department heads and have those discussions on how we can stay on track and make this turnaround that we need to make in terms of the finances. So that's where we're at. So we are making some moves and investigating the budget and the line items to try to rectify our situation.
All right, then and also too, Mr. Green, I wanted to make sure that we get to the body as it relates to Councilwoman Wiley had asked about the comparison for the building department in years past compared to where we're at now. So let's make sure we get that out by next council meeting. I'm going to go on record with that. We make sure we had that information
yes,
to her and to the entire body. And then also too, I know that you have sent out some stuff as it relates to just the recreation complex where we were at. I know that you were trending pretty favorably as it relates to just the overall revenue for the recreation complex, correct?
Yeah. I mean, we've already exceeded our annual budget at the recreation complex for the year, but I mean, there's other departments that are doing the same thing. So there are other line items as well, that are favorable. So, and then there's some that are unfavorable. So I'll be putting together a report on those particular items and sending those out to the council.
All right, good. And then lastly, as it relates to Councilman Williams and, just basically, asking for us to get together and come back to the round table to kind of powwow. Let's put together a few dates in January for a special meeting for the council to really dig into the budget. Councilman Chisholm, as he referred to, talked about some things that he had suggested last year. Let's get those items back forth. I'll send those items back to you as well as Councilman Chisholm. If you could, please dig those up and send those back over to us as well. And we'll call a special meeting and just start to dig into it, because from here on out, we'll be meeting with the councilmatic body along with Plant Moran. We'll also invite Larry and Eric from the state of Michigan to be on the calls with us as for every quarter. So, we talk about budget amendments and where we're at as a city and the things that we're developing. And as it relates to what Councilman Williams is saying, as it relates to roll up our sleeves, Treasurer Green, if you could please send some dates out in January, or send them out now for January, so we can make sure that we have everybody in attendance as it relates to the councilmatic body.
Yes, sir.
All right, then. Before we move on, I have C-Hand Director Bivens, Director DPW. Can we recognize him, please? Go ahead, Mr. Bivens.
Okay, I just had a question before you close the meeting. Did we vote on the budget amendments that were presented tonight, or are they going to be voted on at another meeting?
We already voted on those, sir. Yes, unanimously.
Oh, okay.
One, 5-1.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Let's recognize Ms. Smith, please. Go ahead.
Oh, good evening, Mayor, Council. This is Octavia. Just wanted to send light and love to the city of Inkster, our residents, our mayor and council, and just wish holiday blessings upon everybody from the Inkster Chamber, the Inkster Task Force, and Western Wayne Family Health Center. And that, God just continues to look over us in this city, and that make everything that we're going through just a stepping stone so that we get to the next portion that we're supposed to get to. Thank you.
You're welcome. And make sure you tell your son we all said hello and that we're sending our love as well. Representative Joel Jones. All right. I knew it, Steve. I knew we had some hands, but I see Rebecca Daniels. Let's recognize her, please. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to make a statement and give out a shout out actually to our DPS, the garbage pickup. And I really wanted to say something because I know that we have been having some horrible service in recent months, but just to make, I just wanted to give a shout out because over the last, I guess I'm going to say 6, 7, maybe even 8 weeks, my garbage has been picked up. I did a small renovation in my kitchen and I had to put out some floor stuff and all of that was picked up. And I just wanted to, just give some good news that we are against. I hope everybody else is too. I'm hoping it's not just me. But considering I haven't heard any bad news, I'm assuming everybody else is okay now too. I just really wanted you guys to know that whoever is doing whatever they're doing now, everything seems to be back in order. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the garbage pickup people.
Thank you. All right, moving right into it. Ms. Councilwoman Washington, you have anything for the body?
Did you say Councilwoman Washington?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I would like to just speak on, of course, all the events we've been having within the last week or two. Just want to send a thank you and just a special shout out to all the community organizations who was also, able to feed families or donate turkeys or donate coats. And I was able to be a part of some of those events. So I just wanted to, of course, just say thank you and happy holidays. And it's just great to see a community engaged together and working together to be a powerful force for the community and as a whole. So that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Shaw.
Yes, I just have a few things. I don't know if the fire chief is on tonight, but I wanted to find out, I think we had this in the past, a crisis person with the fire department that goes out with the fire department when someone gets burned out. I don't know if they have that, so they can inquire about some things that they may need for that transition and, and having a fire in their home. So I don't know, if Mr. Chair, if he's on the line. Excuse me. Is he on the line?
I know that the fire chief was on earlier.
Okay,
I can definitely get that answer for you. I get that answer for you, but I think that's a great idea. Even if we don't have it, we definitely need to do it. So
yeah,
we'll
because
definitely find that out for you.
We have residents here in the city of Inkster, they get burned out and they don't know, sometimes they don't know where to turn, where to go. And if we have a person maybe right there that can kind of
There
lead
he
them.
is. I know you're always on their iPhone. Hold on 1 second. Chief Hubbard.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I did hear what he said. Salvation Army is a great start for that. Typically, we bring them out on fires when we have people get burned out, and they work directly with the tenant. I mean, not the tenant, but the homeowner.
Okay. Okay, very good. Because I wanted to know, because I know, I mean, I'm hearing the sirens go, and I know sometimes we having fires going on in the city. So, I'm thinking about the people who are burned out, if there's anybody on scene, or they can be directed to somewhere that they can, make a fresh start. So I appreciate
Absolutely. That. Absolutely. Yep.
Also, Mr. Chair, police patrol on Avondale and Harrison Street, please. And I know you alluded to the contracts coming to for the trash haulers coming to the council for the next council meeting. So is that still on point or on target there?
Yes, sir, we are. And just again, just for the general public, we aligned ourselves with Inkster Housing as well, because we were getting a lot of calls from housing when trash wasn't getting picked up. We know during the pandemic, there was a shortage on people. And of course, we're still in the pandemic and still a shortage on people. However, we were dealing with like three trash haulers in Inkster Housing. So we aligned ourselves with Inkster Housing thanks to the leadership of Will Miller, president of the body over there, and Aaron Cooper, the director over there. They were willing to partner with us so we can do one trash hauler for the entire city of Inkster. So we had to go back out. So we got all that information back in now. We'll be sitting with Aaron this week to just go over everything to make sure we're all on the same page. And then we'll be presenting to the councilmatic body as well as the Inkster Housing Commission.
Okay, very good. And I just want to thank the Inkster Police Department for their fire response. We had an issue over in the district and they responded. They were out on patrol. They was able to apprehend the suspect. And I want to say good job to the men and women of Inkster Police Department and our friends that helped us out as well. And I just also want to say thanks to all the pastors, all the ministers that have come throughout the councilmatic sessions, praying for the city. Some say that we, hit a lucky spot within our finances, but I do believe, in the power of prayer. I understand that the prayers of the righteous availeth much. And I just want to say thank you to all of the pastors, all of the ministers that have come to this body, come to the council meetings down through the years and have been praying for us, have been praying for the city. And we are getting able to get onto a fresh start. And I just want to say thank you to those individuals. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
So much, Councilman. Moving right along, Councilwoman Wiley.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I was going to inquire, and just so I know a lot of the things that ended up in this budget were not necessarily budgeted for initially, such as the large expenditure that the city had to make to the police and fire pension fund. I know that came as like a blow. So I understand there are a lot of things that just hit you wrong, you know. So I wanted to make that point. I also wanted to ask if I am understanding that we're going to be losing quite a few police officers soon. And I wanted to know if that was correct, because a lot of them are retiring and some are just leaving. And how, when we're already at a deficit where police officers are concerned. So I wanted to know if there's any plan in the works or any ideas that we're doing moving forward on that score, if it is indeed about to happen. And also to say that when you hire new police officers or newly police officers, sometimes the cost of those veteran officers, it can be minimized through the new hirees. So just another thought. And my last is, once again, I'm asking for a review and an evaluation of our legal services for the city. That's it.
Yes, ma'am. And just to speak towards the police, though, so we're not losing a lot of police in the slew, but we do know that folks are getting ready to retire. When we talk about retirement, you're talking about, we just had one of our detectives retired, Officer Smith, and then you got a couple more that's going to retire next year, and then so on. So we know that they're coming, and you're sitting on the picture board, so I know that you see them coming. So that's why we're heavily recruiting, with working with Chief Riley, who's on the line tonight, that can speak towards that if we need be. And we are working with HR and formulating a plan, but it's really hard to hire new talent coming out of the academy just because of our competitive wages. That Inkster is one of the lowest paid start off as an officer in this area compared to Garden City, Dearborn Heights, Wayne, Westland, but also too with the most run volume. So we know that it's an issue. It's a balancing act that we're trying to recruit the best talent that we can with the money that we have. So we're working with the county, state, federal government. We do have county patrol here. We do have state patrol here. Federal government has different agencies here working alongside our police. But at the same time, to retain those folks within the city, we're trying to get creative as possible to give them some added value to consider not only working with us here in the city of Inkster, but also retaining them and staying here in the city of Inkster.
Okay, just one other thing on that note, Mayor Wimberly. We often have trade-offs in everything we do. There's always choices to be made. So if we can't pay them the best, why don't we become the best trainers of police officers? So if anybody wants to know how to do their job right, they come here to get that. If you know they're going to leave anyway, but you got an influx of people coming because they know they're going to learn how to be a police officer the right way, that makes a future for them, then let's be that if we can't be the highest paid one.
Councilwoman Wiley, I always say that I like the way you think. And that's the realization of it. And I have the police chief and the fire chief on the line right now, and they'll tell you that's exactly what's happening, because the city of Inkster is great training grounds. People come here just to put it on their resume, because we have so many, run volume as it relates to just the police, just being everything. Police, we don't have a lot of high crime stuff, but you have a lot of mental health things that's going on. They're dealing with group homes, things of that nature. So you come to the city of Inkster and you're dealing with all types of facets, all walks of life of people. And then of course the fire department, with our senior towers and all this stuff like that here in the concentrated area, you got the run volume is super high. So they have some of the best training. People come here just for the training. And that's what I hear officers say all the time, that they love being here. They love the environment. They love the high pace, but at the same time, the wages just don't support their families. So we're working on other initiatives as well, as it relates to our NSP program, looking at the neighborhood stabilization program when police and firefighters, also just employees in general, giving them options on home ownership here in the city of Inkster. And also to working with getting grants to do some different training and add some different certificates and different qualifications to their already to their training, along with their training, to lock them in, say for a number of years. Say for you sign up with us, we'll send you to this academy to get this level of training, but you have to stay with us for 5 years. So we've been working diligently on that again with Police Chief Riley, Hubbard, Fire Chief Hubbard, and Pam Crawford. We've been really trying to thinking outside the box to really see what we can make happen to retain our folks here in the city of Inkster. All right, moving right along. Councilwoman Wiley, did you have anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Councilman Williams?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to invite the whole mayor and council out to the Inkster housing residents having a Christmas party on the 17th of December at the Floyd C. Simmons building on Carlisle. You're all welcome. I've sanctioned my organization to try to get up many toys as we can get up, along with the mayor of the city. And anyone else who would like to donate a toy, that's fine. You can contact the National Christians in Action, and we'll gather in toys that we can give out to the kids that night in the Inkster housing area. Another thing I'd like to ask a question. We hired a person today in the recreation department. Is that person full-time or part-time?
Part-time.
Part-time, okay. What happened to the other part-time people that we had laid off?
Just didn't work out. Mr. Green is online, can speak directly to that, but Mr. Green, you want to speak to that? I don't want to steal your thunder on that.
Yeah. What part-time person are you speaking on, Mr. Williams?
Well, it was a bunch of them. I don't know name by name, but it was a bunch of them that got laid off for a year or something ago. And I was just wondering what happened. Were they had the opportunity to come back, or they don't have to come back, or what?
No, anyone that was here before I got here hasn't appeared or even showed any interest of coming back to the red.
Okay.
Yeah, and I did reach out to some of those individuals, and it was just really the pay. Some have moved on and taken other positions. Some didn't get the positions that they wanted, that they thought that they should have had within the rec, in the organization of the rec, for what we need at this time. But the pay is, I think it's like $10, $12 an hour over there right now at the rec. And we'll, of course, being everywhere.
Okay, one more little question I had. First of all, let me I would like to thank the mayor and several of the council people who have stepped up to try to help us collect, these different toys and stuff, and the people in the community who have also donated toys. We want to make this a great adventure for the children in the Inkster housing. Another thing I wanted to bring up, we also have another coach for kids. I guess the mayor gonna talk about the one that they just had, and then we got another coach for kids from the Inkster Citizens Who Care. It's gonna be on the library on December the 18th. I think it's from I think it's from 1 to 3. So I just wanted to bring them out, and just like to also add some information from the treasury. Still on the line?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we had asked for a printout of all the departments. Okay, departments, everybody that works in different departments, the whole total employees of the Inkster, city of Inkster.
Just a number of employees.
Well, I prefer to have them like in a breakdown. All the ones working in different departments. And the people that's there, of all employees that we have, because I'm gonna start, and I hope that, and maybe we give it to the rest of the council also. But we need to start looking at what we got and what we can do to try to, before we start having these meetings. Okay. So then we'll know exactly who's in what department and where they're working at and stuff like that when we get ready to have these discussions.
Okay, yeah, I understand
I
what you're
want to
saying.
get a jump on it. Is it all right? You have that already, right? But I think the update when you don't have at right now.
Well, I have to update that for the auditor, so I will have, updated information for you.
Okay, I appreciate it. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And that that's all I have. Don't forget about the coach. I did call say coach for kids, right? Saturday at the library from 1 to 3.
You did, sir.
I did say that. Okay.
You want to talk about the do you want to talk about the Easter Goodfellas?
I'm very sorry, Mr. Mayor. You're right. And just for that, I'm gonna slap you for not reminding me.
Yes, sir.
I'm just teasing. Hey, the Goodfellas, we'll call on everybody to get with the Goodfellas team to try to continue to raise money for we can also be able to help the young unfortunate kids in our area with the Goodfellas. Okay, so I think the mayor, I don't know, he probably know that date. That Sister Cooper haven't gave it to me yet.
This Friday,
they're gonna have a drive. I don't know what day that is.
This Friday.
This Friday.
11 a.m.
Okay.
to 3 p.m. We're gonna gather over at City Hall on Trowbridge, and then disperse from there. And we'll be out on the corners, just like in other neighboring communities, as you guys have been driving throughout this area and seeing the good fellows out with their, their buckets and their, their vests on the corners and in the segues and intersections. We'll be assembling a team to do that. So anybody want to volunteer, please let's reach out to Mother Cooper at 313-505-1140. That number again is 313-505-1140. If you just want to make a donation, you can reach out to her as well. That's Barbara Cooper is the president of the Easter Goodfellas, 313-505-1140.
That's it, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to also shout out to the citizens, the good citizens of Inkster who supported all of the turkey giveaway dinners and the turkeys and hams that was given out by the mayor and team and all of the different businesses who gave out turkeys and various stuff like that. I just want to just thank each and every last one of them because it was a wonderful thing that happened. All the food that the unity in the community and what was the name of Mr. Allen? They call him Mr. Allen, and the mayor gave away more dinners on the outside. It was just a wonderful occasion. So I mean, if that's the kind of Inkster that I love living in, I just like to say that. I just like to thank everyone who was a part of that, and that we continue great things like that in the city of Inkster. That's all I have to say at this particular time, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right, all right, Councilman. Good. Moving right along, Councilman Chisholm. Councilman Chisholm.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just two things real quick. One, and I might have misunderstood. I thought when we were talking about the budget stuff, the treasurer had mentioned that the Parks and Recs budget was, already exhausted. And he said sometimes it's just what happens in different departments and things of that nature throughout the year. But I know he talked about we had a new hire over there. So I was just trying to get clarity on, I guess, how that works when he says the budget was exhausted. Is that for like programming or was that the budget altogether? Because I didn't know where that person would be getting paid from.
No,
I can explain it. No, I was saying that our revenues, our expected revenues for the year, what we would expect to bring in for revenues, we've already exceeded that.
Okay.
Yeah, I was about to say, the budget is good over there. We're actually getting more money in just because of the rentals and things of that nature over there. And because Mr. Green is, not taking the salary from over there.
Gotcha. And then my final thing is just, over the Christmas holidays and going into New Year's, I just want to remind everyone to be cognizant of what you're consuming and stay healthy. As some may not know, I'm still kind of recovering. I had a severe allergic reaction at the city of Westland, stated the city address, and they called an ambulance for me. So I am grateful for all those persons who were attentive and came to my aid in that time of need. It was a very scary time. I've had allergic reactions before. You know, it's not like I intentionally ate the stuff that I'm allergic to. I just didn't know it was in there. I've never had my throat start to close up and choke and cough and whatnot. And again, thank you to all of those who sent messages of prayers, Thanksgiving, and, you know, motivational stuff just to, if you will, keep me lifted and going. It really does something to you when you don't potentially know you're staring death in the face. And I want to say thank you to everyone. But yeah, through the Christmas holiday and New Year's and stuff, everyone, I just want you to be mindful of what you're consuming. We should always be healthy though. But I just, excuse me, wanted to put that out there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing else.
All right, Councilman, we're glad that you're okay, man. All right, moving right along, Mayor Pro Tem Howard.
Yes, I don't have anything at this time.
All right, then just a couple of things for me. I just wanted to make sure that, again, just echoing my other colleagues as it relates to just all the good work that's going on within the community. We were recently, the city was recognized by the AKAs as a Diamond sponsored partner in the city for the work that they've been doing along with the city of Inkster. And I just wanted to just publicly say thank you so much to the AKAs for everything that they do, everything that they will continue to do. They had a program over the weekend. We weren't able to attend, but we did submit a video along with a letter from the city of Inkster. Also to Inkster Citizens Who Cares, you mentioned being over at the library. The library is open and operating. We need people. You guys, people always say that we don't have amenities in the city of Inkster, but we have a state-of-the-art library that people are taking advantage of. Take your kids by there. It's a beautiful place. If you haven't had a chance to get over, we will be over there on December, I believe it's the 18th. Reverend Williams, you said from 1 to 3. We will be over there giving out coats. Come on by and check it out. Give them a shout out again to Kevin Harrington and blessed and highly favored political princess Tashana's last name, I'm sorry. But with their organization, gave out coats this weekend over at the Inkster Recreation Complex. They will be doing a toy drive on December the 23rd. It is registration that goes along with that. I'll make sure we get that information out onto our website, along as well as in the community. We have flyers and all of that stuff. So that's not until the 23rd. Toys for Tots this year, of course, is falling behind a little bit. They asked me to give a shout out to people and just ask people to donate as much as they possibly can, just because of the pandemic. Businesses have been falling off, and where they normally would go to different wells, people aren't able to donate at the levels they've been able to donate in the past. So we want to make sure that we do whatever we can. We will have a couple of boxes here at the City Hall for Toys for Tots. If they haven't made it here today, I know they'll be here tomorrow. And we're open here from 8:30 to 4 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday. Also, volunteers are needed. We hear people all the time talking about these different organizations, talking about the Inkster Goodfellas. Well, let me say this, that Inkster Goodfellas, they've been, running for years, about 70 years, I believe it is. And we need new blood mixed in between what we have. We got to have our elders working with our youth, all of us moving together to set the foundation here in the city of Inkster. That's very, very important. And speaking of that, as we talk about stopping the violence in the city of Inkster, all of the marches, all of the prayers, all that stuff is great. And we know without prayer, we can't do anything, but we have to have action. I'm going to be calling the town hall meeting on January the 12th at the Inkster Recreation Complex. And we need to have a candid conversation about the violence in our community. We know that the violence is not a little old lady being hit over the head or something like that in a purse snatch. There's nothing like that. We have gun violence that's happening in the city of Inkster. It's real. Most of us, if not all of us, are tied or know somebody that's removed from the situation. You may know it's somebody's son or somebody's cousin, nephew, whatever it is. we have to start to speak up as people within our community. We have to start to organize, however that looks. Everything that everyone has been doing with the outpour of compassion and love for the city of Inkster as it relates to, the violence that's been happening in our community for years now. It's not just happened last week or overnight, isolated incidents. This is stuff that's been perpetuated for years. It has to stop. It starts with us together, working together. We are all responsible for one another. Just like the speeding of cars up and down our streets. We know where that car end up at the end of the day. We know that that's little Johnny or our cousin such and such or whoever that is. We need to step up and we need to be responsible. So I'm going to start that conversation coming here January the 12th. I would love for the councilmatic body to be a part of that. However, I know that we need to call on all organizations to step up to stop the violence in the city of Inkster. It's our responsibility, no one else's. So to all, continue to enjoy the holidays as we move along. We will have another meeting on the 20th before Christmas. We have a few things coming to you before then, but we'll try to keep that meeting light. In the meantime, in between time, I'm calling for
motion.
Mayor.
Ma'am.
Yeah, just one more thing. Go Blue.
There you go. Go Blue. All right, call for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 I want to say stay nay, and we'll catch you later. Thank you guys. Have a good night.